So, you've been working really hard on your art, and now it's time to show the world what you've created, right? Well, presenting your art is just as important as how you create it. You don't go to a museum or an art gallery to look at professional, beautiful, famous works of art and see them all wrinkled or just taped to the wall. Real artwork is displayed neatly and professionally, and the way you display your artwork and the quality you put into how you show your artwork to other people will help make your artwork look either better or not so great. You might spend a lot of time making something really awesome, but when you display it, if you don't take the time to display it properly, it won't show its true quality. So when we display our artwork, especially as students, a lot of the time we're displaying our artwork digitally, and that's pretty realistic because we live in a digital age. We see things on our cell phones and TVs and computers all the time. In fact, that's how most of us view most art nowadays, is digitally. And that's okay, that's the world we live in. But when you photograph your artwork to share online, whether it's through a student website like Artsonia that we use, or to submit to an online gallery, photographing your artwork is really important. And there's a right way to photograph your artwork and a lot of wrong ways to photograph your artwork. Whether it's an awesome three-dimensional sculpture you've created, or a beautiful 2D work of art, a drawing, a painting, a photograph, it's important to photograph your artwork in a way that will show its best qualities, that will make it stand out and look awesome, rather than distracting or hard to see. So that's what this video is about today. I'm going to show you how to photograph both two-dimensional and three-dimensional works of art. This works for anything you are photographing, any purpose you're photographing your artwork for, but this especially works for my students when they're photographing their artwork for Artsonia, which, as we're all learning at home right now through our new online digital learning adventure, that's the only way they're able to show me their artwork, is from photographing it and sharing it with me through Artsonia or Google Classroom or Seesaw. So I want to make sure that they're able to photograph their artwork the very best way possible. So stick around and learn how. This is an example of how a lot of students take their picture, but what's wrong with this picture is that it's taken at an angle, so the top edge is much smaller than the bottom edge, and it really distorts the picture and takes away from its quality. It's just not as easy to see or tell what it is. So to fix this, you would want to take your picture from directly above the art. Now here's a picture from above, but this still isn't a good picture because, as you can see, there are lots of distracting objects in the image. So when you take a picture, you want to make sure to be close to the image and not have anything else close to your artwork's edges. This also has a shadow over the artwork that's created from holding the camera above the artwork. So when you take a picture from above, you need to make sure it's in a well-lit area, not just a place where all the light's coming from above. So basically, if you're going to take a picture of your artwork with it laying flat on a table or on the ground, you want to have the iPad or phone or whatever camera you're using straight, parallel to the work of art. You also want to get as close to the work of art as possible to take your picture without actually cutting off any of the artwork in your picture. So you don't want a lot of empty space around your artwork when you take the picture. Another great option for photographing your artwork is hanging it up. I think that hanging up your artwork is a much better way to photograph your artwork. It makes it easier to not get any shadows in your artwork. So one option is to hang your artwork on a bulletin board. But note how in this picture, the thumbtacks holding up the artwork are in the very, very, very corners of your artwork. You don't want to poke any holes in the middle of your artwork, and you want to put those as close to the edge as possible so that when you crop your artwork, you can just cut those off without having to cut off a lot of your picture. Another great, easy option for photographing your artwork, especially if you don't have a bulletin board and thumbtacks to hang it from, is photographing it on your refrigerator. Kitchens usually actually have pretty good lighting, and this will keep your artwork nice and straight. But remember, when you take your picture, you don't want to be far away from it. You want to get close to it so that it fills up the picture frame, but you don't cut off any of your artwork. Also note how the magnets that I've used, just like the thumbtacks, are in the very corners of the artwork. They're not covering up a bunch of artwork, so that when I crop my art, I can cut those out of the picture without cutting off a bunch of my artwork. So photographing it on your refrigerator will only work if you have magnets that can hold up your artwork from just the very corners. Now, photographing 3D artwork is a little different because it's not a square or a rectangle, so you can't crop off the edges to get a nice straight picture. So when you're photographing 3D artwork, you want to give it a neutral background. That's a background that's going to basically disappear in the picture. That's not going to distract from your sculpture. A big black or white piece of paper works really well. If your sculpture is darker in colors, then you probably want to use a white piece of paper. Whereas if your sculpture is lighter, which most of them usually are, black paper works best, and it really kind of disappears when you take your picture. If you don't have a large piece of paper, you could also use a neutral piece of fabric like a bed sheet, but you just don't want to pick something that has a pattern or a color on it that would be really distracting from your artwork. It's easiest just to hang the paper or sheet. I just hung mine from my refrigerator so that it creates kind of a swooping effect where it is vertical behind your artwork and then also comes down in a curve to be flat on the ground or on the table where your artwork's going to sit. So you don't have a seam where the bottom of the background and the back plane of the background are meeting. Now, when you actually take a picture of your 3D artwork, you want to get your camera as close to it as possible so that you don't see the edges of that background. You can see here in this picture how I got very close to the artwork without cutting any of it off on the edge of the picture, and that black background almost disappears. You also want to take your picture at an angle, which means you don't want to be completely above your 3D artwork, but you don't want to be down on the same level as the ground or the table directly in front of your artwork. You want to kind of look at it from an angle like you're looking down on it so you can see both the top and front of your artwork. If you don't have any large paper or fabric that will work to make a neutral background, you can take a picture of your 3D artwork either on a table where the table meets the wall or on the ground where the ground meets the wall. This will work okay while you're at home. This isn't ideal though, because as you can see, you are going to get those two different textures from the table or the ground that your sculpture is sitting on and the wall behind it. You are also going to notice the shadow from your sculpture more than you would notice on a neutral background. But this is still an okay option. So the most important thing to remember when you're photographing your artwork is you just want to make it look as good as possible in that picture. Because a lot of the time people are only looking in that picture for a couple seconds. And if you've taken a picture that's messy or out of focus or has a distracting background or has cut off some of your artwork, then people are going to scroll past your artwork pretty quickly. And I know that my students make amazing artwork, and I want them to be able to show the quality of their artwork even in a photograph. So just remember these helpful tips and tricks when you're taking pictures of your artwork, and I know that you'll be able to take some great pictures of the already great works of art you're creating. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.